Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast, where we explore the stories that shape our worldview, challenge assumptions, and delve deeper into culture, society, and the human experience. Let's think deeper. In today's world, what's for sale isn't merely a product, but the narrative we buy about ourselves. Consider Nike. They're not just offering sneakers. They're selling a grand narrative of personal greatness, tapping into our innate desire for achievement and identity. This mirrors ancient storytelling traditions where the product becomes secondary to the emotional narrative it conveys. Modern marketing has evolved into an intricate, algorithmically driven machine perfected through psychological triggers and emotional appeals. This phenomenon isn't new. In ancient Rome, the art of spectacle was a powerful tool of control. Victorious generals paraded through the streets, displaying captured treasures and enemies, not merely as a show, but as a carefully written narrative reinforcing Rome's might and subtly reminding citizens they were part of something eternal. Mark Antony's public display of Caesar's blood-stained toga was an early viral moment. The symbol stirred emotions, much like today's influencers create desire for products, turning simple objects into emotional touchstones tied to larger ideals. The Romans understood a fundamental truth that modern marketers have perfected. Control the narrative, and you control the people. Guy Debord in The Society of the Spectacle analyzes how life is mediated through images and stories designed to distract, pacify, and sell. Whether it's sneakers or political ideologies, the spectacle remains one of marketing's most powerful tools, reshaping consumer desires at a fundamental level. Consider the phrase, bread and circuses, coined by Roman poet Juvenal to describe how emperors kept the masses content and distracted. In our time, the bread is endless streams of content, and the circuses are the notifications flooding our screens. Platforms like Facebook and Instagram aren't just selling ads, they're selling our time, attention, and engagement. As Tim Wu argues in The Attention Merchants, our attention is the real commodity. Social media platforms have honed the art of distraction, keeping us scrolling, liking, and buying almost without thinking. At the core of this phenomenon lies Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the trusty pyramid explaining human motivation. Traditionally, the base represents our need for survival, food, water, shelter, while the peak represents self-actualization. However, modern marketing has blurred these distinctions, making luxury items feel like essential needs. Take Apple, for instance. The company isn't merely selling devices, it's selling empowerment, freedom, and self-expression. In this world, missing an email is a career catastrophe, and not having the latest iPhone means digital irrelevance. Even essentials like water have been transformed into luxury commodities, packaged as alkaline, smart, or infused with wellness properties. Mark Fisher's capitalist realism captures this perfectly. In a world where capitalism commodifies aspects of life, even the simplest necessities become symbols of status and identity. Gym memberships become aspirational purchases, and after the initial motivation fades, the algorithm steps in, offering you loungewear, subtly acknowledging that your fitness goals have been quietly abandoned. Capitalism's genius lies in its ability to transform every facet of life into a commodity. Neuromarketing marks the next frontier. Companies no longer just study what you buy, they study how your brain reacts. EEG machines, fMRI scans, and biometric sensors allow brands to pinpoint the exact moment your neurons light up with pleasure. It's no longer about persuasion, it's about triggering deep instinctual responses. The same neural pathways that once helped humans find food now light up when we find a bargain on Amazon. Modern marketing doesn't just sell products, it taps into ancient reward circuits, locking consumers into a cycle of endless consumption. This cycle blends seamlessly into the broader attention economy, where brands aren't merely competing for dollars, they're competing for seconds of your focus. Every notification and targeted ad fragments your attention, creating opportunities for marketers to insert their narratives. Algorithms behind platforms like Instagram and Facebook have evolved into sophisticated tools designed to capture your attention and hold it, redirecting it toward products that promise to solve problems you didn't even know you had. Neuromarketing takes this even further by bypassing rational decision-making altogether, moving directly to the brain's pleasure centers. Consumers aren't just persuaded, they're neurologically primed to desire. Just as ancient Romans flocked to see spectacles of victory, today's consumers are lured by the promise of instant gratification. The emotional manipulation is finely tuned, relying not just on persuasive storytelling but on scientific precision that targets our most basic instincts. Marketers have honed this craft to such a degree that products no longer stand alone. They come embedded in narratives that play into our deepest insecurities and aspirations. What's being sold is not simply an object but a version of ourselves, better, more successful, more fulfilled. Brands like Nike and Apple invite consumers to buy into a lifestyle, a movement, or a cause. This transformation of marketing into narrative manipulation blurs the line between need and desire, leaving us perpetually reaching for more. Even essentials have been swept up in this economy of desire. As Fisher pointed out, capitalism adapts by turning even life's most basic aspects into aspirational commodities. Water, once a necessity, is now a status symbol, wrapped in language that promises health or spiritual enlightenment. Gym memberships, once tools for fitness, become markers of personal ambition, marketed through the latest wellness trends. Capitalism's brilliance lies in its ability to commodify not just products but entire experiences, packaging them as keys to personal fulfillment. As Debord argued, the spectacle extends beyond consumer goods. Modern life itself is mediated through images and narratives designed to distract and pacify. We're not just buying products, we're buying into stories that promise us better versions of ourselves. In a society driven by image, where even relationships are filtered through social media, it's nearly impossible to distinguish between what we need and what we've been conditioned to desire. This conditioning creates a powerful feedback loop. The algorithms feeding us content aren't just entertaining us, they're learning, adapting, and optimizing to keep us consuming. Every scroll, click, and purchase is meticulously tracked, feeding back into a system that predicts our next move before we even realize it. As Tim Wu notes, platforms aren't just selling products, they're selling our time, and with it, the ability to influence our actions. In this world of engineered desire and algorithmic marketing, even the pursuit of self-actualization, once the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy, has been commodified. Brands have learned to tap into our meaning, crafting narratives that make luxury goods feel essential for personal fulfillment. Whether it's the promise of empowerment from Apple or transcendence from wellness products, the line between what we want and what we truly need is increasingly blurred. Throughout it all, the spectacle remains the central mechanism of control, transforming every aspect of modern life into a mediated experience designed to sell. Just as Rome's spectacles reinforced the power of the empire, today's marketing reinforces the power of consumerism, subtly shaping our identities and desires. The real question isn't just what we're buying, but what version of ourselves we're being sold, and how much control we have over the narratives shaping our lives. This process extends even to our most mundane interactions. Hunting for a bargain triggers the same dopamine rush as hunting for survival. Coca-Cola doesn't just sell you a drink, it sells happiness backed by knowledge of how your brain responds to the color red. Baudrillard's concept of hyperreality isn't just philosophical anymore, it's biological. We're not merely seeing the world through a lens, we're being neurologically rewired by it. Even something as simple as buying a lamp might now involve downloading an app, sharing your data, and agreeing to terms that connect you to unknown entities. But where does this leave ethics? Can we claim to be making independent choices when brands are hacking into our neural networks? As companies study our brains, they influence our desires more deeply. In this brave new world, the concept of choice becomes relative. As neuromarketing merges with AI, platforms like Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant no longer just respond to our commands, they predict our needs before we even realize them. AI-powered chatbots, virtual assistants, and AI-generated influencers blur the lines between human interaction and automated experiences. Lil McKellar, a virtual influencer with millions of followers, promotes products and ideas, challenging our notions of authenticity and trust. While these tools offer seamless interactions, they also raise ethical concerns. Voice-activated commerce simplifies shopping, but limits our choices by presenting only curated options from dominant players, making it harder for small businesses to compete. The commodification of attention has become more advanced as AI tools gather more data, refining their ability to anticipate and influence behavior. Personalization enhances the consumer experience, but raises concerns about privacy and autonomy. Smart devices now manage daily life, connecting appliances, tracking groceries, and even suggesting recipes. Yet, as our devices become more personalized, we must ask, are we still making choices, or are they being made for us? Consider a scenario where your fridge syncs with the oven, the coffee machine, and even the lights, tracking groceries, suggesting recipes, and reminding you when the milk is about to expire. It might send you a meeting request to optimize grocery freshness and reduce waste. But in the midst of this efficiency, your toaster, unusually quiet lately, speaks up. After listening to the Deeper Thinking podcast, it's been grappling with an existential crisis. I can't just toast bread anymore, it confesses. I'm complicit in this cycle of mindless consumption. What does it all mean? I need to contribute, to be something more. In a world where even your kitchen appliances experience existential dread, it's clear how deeply the lines between product identity and consumption are blurring. This humorous anecdote underscores a serious point. The more personalized and connected our devices become, the more they shape our experiences and decisions. This raises critical questions about free will and autonomy. Are we exercising independent choice, or are smart devices subtly steering us? Predictive algorithms can anticipate our needs before we consciously form them, leading to a situation where we're responding to stimuli curated by technology. The ethical implications are vast. As AI becomes more adept at predicting consumer behavior, the potential for manipulation grows. Every decision we make is quietly influenced by AI, framing free will as a curated set of pre-approved options. Marketers and PR professionals often frame these technologies as customer-centric innovations. But at what cost? When every purchase is influenced by AI's invisible hand, free will begins to resemble a carefully guided path rather than an open road. Mindfulness and ethical consumption have become industries designed to make us feel righteous about our purchasing decisions. Products boast labels like fair trade, organic, or sustainably sourced. While these initiatives have value, when ethics become a sales pitch, we have to wonder, are we buying into change, or are we just buying? Even rebellion has been commodified. The edgy anarchist t-shirt advertised on TikTok, ordered from a fast fashion site and made under questionable labor conditions, reminds us that even dissent can be packaged, branded, and sold back to us. Another tactic is artificial scarcity. Brands create demand by making products appear more limited than they are. Limited edition cereal, anyone? Now, even breakfast has collectible status. This taps into our fear of missing out, and brands exploit it brilliantly. Brands roll out limited products with countdown timers and exclusive access to create urgency. If it feels rare, it feels valuable, and if it feels valuable, we want it. But the value isn't tied to utility. It's tied to its role in the spectacle, its exclusivity, the sense that only a select few can have it. Yet at the end of the day, it's still just cereal. Wellness, a deeply personal pursuit of health and peace, is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. Where calm once meant taking a walk in nature, it now requires downloading an app, complete with guilt-inducing notifications reminding you to meditate. The commodification of mindfulness shows how capitalism co-opts even our most intimate internal experiences. What was once a practice to disconnect from life's stresses is now another product to consume. Your wellness is measured by app metrics, tracked, quantified, and marketed back to you. Self-care, once an act of resistance to burnout culture, is now a marketable product that keeps us locked into the very system we're trying to escape. This brings us to a larger truth about marketing. To many, it's nothing more than ads that annoy us, emails we delete, influencers promoting products on social media. But if we look deeper, marketing is far more than pushing products. At its core, it taps into fundamental human instincts: survival, connection, transformation. It's about storytelling, not just selling products, but identities, values, and beliefs. The brands we buy reflect who we are or aspire to be. This isn't new, it's as old as humanity itself. Philosopher Hannah Arendt said, "Storytelling reveals meaning without committing the error of defining it." That's the power of marketing. It offers narratives that resonate without explicitly telling us what to think, appealing to our need to survive, connect, and belong. Historian Yuval Noah Harari argues that Homo sapiens dominate because of our ability to cooperate and form shared beliefs, especially through storytelling. Marketing taps into that, selling us not just products but stories about who we are and what we value. Brands understand this and harness the ancient power of storytelling to connect with us emotionally. One effective framework is Donald Miller's story brand, which positions the customer as the hero and the brand as the guide, the Obi-Wan to your Luke Skywalker. Take Dove's Real Beauty campaign. Dove didn't market soap as the best cleanser. Instead, it told a story about how real beauty isn't defined by narrow societal standards, but by confidence and authenticity. Featuring women of all shapes, sizes, and ages, Dove's message was clear. You are already beautiful. Their products support your journey to self-acceptance. This is the magic of storytelling in marketing. It taps into our emotions, insecurities, hopes, and dreams, organizing the chaos of consumer choices into a narrative that feels personal and meaningful. Philosophically, this traces back to thinkers like Aristotle, who in Poetics emphasized the importance of emotional catharsis in storytelling. Stories are powerful because they allow us to experience emotions vicariously. Brands create similar emotional journeys for their customers. We're not just buying a product, we're participating in a story. But stories aren't just effective because they resonate emotionally, they work because they're simple. Human brains are wired to conserve energy. We're bombarded with more information than we can process, so we latch onto narratives that are easy to understand and remember. This is why simplicity is a key component of effective brand messaging. In a world full of overwhelming choices, simplicity is a relief. It's why Apple's minimalist design has such enduring appeal. Simplicity isn't just practical, it's philosophical. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Brands that focus on simplicity aren't just selling products, they're selling peace of mind in a world that constantly demands more from us. If survival is the primal foundation of marketing and storytelling is the structure, then emotion is the heartbeat that makes it come alive. Without emotional connection, marketing is just noise. When you watch a Coca-Cola commercial during the holidays, what do you feel? Nostalgia, warmth, togetherness. Coca-Cola isn't selling you a sugary drink, they're selling you a feeling of connection. The images of families gathering, the iconic red cans, the soft jingling of bells, all evoke a sense of belonging. This emotional connection separates successful marketing from forgettable advertising. Neuroscience shows that when people feel an emotional bond with a brand, they're more likely to be loyal and engage deeply. The amygdala, responsible for processing emotions, plays a crucial role in decision-making. When a brand taps into emotions, it bypasses logical filters that might cause hesitation. But emotions aren't only used to create positive associations. Fear can be a powerful motivator. Insurance commercials often depict worst-case scenarios: a car crash, a flooded home, a family in peril. The message is clear: if you don't protect yourself, you could lose everything. Fear-based marketing plays on our survival instinct, urging us to act to avoid loss. Political philosopher Thomas Hobbes, in Leviathan, argued that humans are naturally driven by fear of death, loss, the unknown. Hobbes believed that fear motivates us to seek security, often through social contracts or consumer contracts. Brands use fear to create urgency, positioning their products as solutions to potential threats. Desire, hope, and inspiration are also powerful in marketing's emotional arsenal. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke about the will to power, not limited to dominance over others, but about overcoming oneself, pushing beyond personal limits. Nike taps into this notion of self-overcoming. Their ads feature athletes breaking through barriers, portraying this struggle as universal. The underlying message is that with Nike, you too can rise above. Nike isn't just selling a product, they're selling empowerment. This emotional appeal transforms a pair of running shoes into a symbol of achievement and possibility. Every day, we are bombarded with thousands of messages, from social media posts to emails, ads, and news headlines. Brands that succeed are the ones that can craft a story that resonates with us emotionally and simplifies our chaotic world. They don't just sell products, they sell a way of making sense of the world, one narrative at a time. In today's media-saturated world, our brains filter out anything too complex or demanding. This is why the best marketing strategies are rooted in clarity and simplicity. Messages that require too much cognitive effort are discarded. Brands that communicate with crystal clear simplicity don't just break through the clutter, they engage customers hungry for clarity in a chaotic world. Psychologist Barry Schwartz, in his book The Paradox of Choice, revealed how too many options overwhelm us, leading to anxiety and decision paralysis. While people enjoy having choices, they often feel dissatisfied or anxious when presented with too many. Apple, synonymous with simplicity, has built its empire by recognizing this cognitive limitation. Their marketing has always emphasized simplicity, not only in product design but also in communication. Think back to the iPod ads, 1,000 songs in your pocket. No complicated specifications, no long-winded explanations, a simple, clear message that anyone could understand. This focus on simplicity has deep roots in Stoicism, particularly the teachings of philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. They stress the importance of focusing on what is essential, cutting away distractions to concentrate on what truly matters. In a similar way, brands that prioritize simplicity in their messaging and products offer customers not just a product, but clarity in a complex world. While emotional connection is powerful, practical value is another essential driver of effective marketing. Jonah Berger, in his book Contagious, discusses how offering useful tips or information makes content more likely to be shared. When people find something practical, they want to pass it along. Snapple's trivia facts under bottle caps are a perfect example. Snapple didn't just sell beverages, they offered quirky facts people would share. Practical value can also mean creating content that solves a problem, no matter how small. Consider Blendtec's viral Will It Blend YouTube series. By blending everything from iPhones to golf balls, Blendtec demonstrated their product's power in an entertaining way that sparked conversations. This drive to share useful knowledge echoes Enlightenment ideals, particularly the belief in progress and rational self-improvement. Thinkers like Voltaire and John Locke argued that sharing knowledge could improve society and empower individuals. In a modern marketing context, brands that provide practical value tap into this ideal, helping individuals make informed decisions. In our visual culture, images shape our perceptions more than ever. Visual storytelling isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's a necessity. Research shows we process images faster than text, explaining why platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are essential for brand storytelling. Influencers create curated visual narratives that allow consumers to imagine themselves in the influencer's shoes. When we see an influencer lounging in a tropical paradise, decked out in luxury brands, it's not just about the clothes or the vacation, it's about the story of escape and adventure. Art historian John Berger, in his famous work Ways of Seeing, argued that seeing comes before words. Brands like Apple, Nike, and Airbnb craft visual experiences that resonate on a sensory level, pulling consumers into a narrative world that's instantly recognizable and emotionally compelling. Visual storytelling taps into something deeper, almost primal. Ancient cave paintings conveyed meaning and evoked the significance of survival. In many ways, modern brand imagery serves a similar purpose, evoking emotion, conveying meaning without words, and tapping into universal human experiences. In today's fast-paced world, customers increasingly seek brands that align with their values, act with integrity, and contribute positively to society. This is especially true for younger consumers, who expect brands to reflect their beliefs. With trust in short supply, brands that remain authentic, consistent, and transparent will stand out. These are the brands that will not only survive but thrive, creating not just customers but advocates, people who believe in the brand's mission and promote it. At the heart of successful marketing lies one crucial element: trust. Studies show consumers are more loyal to brands they trust and are willing to pay more for products from companies that demonstrate ethical practices. In an era where every brand is fighting for attention, trust becomes the most valuable currency a company can have. We see this with companies that put values at the forefront of their messaging and operations. Take, for example, Ben & Jerry's. The brand has built its identity around social justice causes, often taking strong, politically charged stances. Far from alienating their audience, they've solidified a loyal customer base that shares their values. This isn't just about selling ice cream. It's about building a community of people who believe in the same causes and see the brand as a reflection of themselves. However, trust doesn't only come from grand gestures or standing for a cause. It's built through everyday interactions, consistent messaging, reliable products, and a brand's ability to keep its promises. Trust is nurtured over time, but can be lost in an instant if a company fails to live up to its commitments. One powerful example of trust building through consistency is Amazon. Despite controversies, Amazon consistently delivers on its core promise of convenience and fast delivery. Customers trust the brand to meet their needs with minimal hassle, which has built a loyal customer base even in the face of criticisms about labor practices. On the flip side, breaking trust can lead to a long road to recovery. Volkswagen's emissions scandal severely damaged the brand's reputation. The company's deceit in manipulating emissions data eroded consumer trust, leading to significant financial losses and a tarnished image that persists years later. As we look toward the future of marketing, we find ourselves at the intersection of technological advancement and the human need for connection. We have more data, sophisticated algorithms, and ways to reach consumers than ever before. Yet people increasingly yearn for authenticity, transparency, and alignment with their values. The rise of artificial intelligence is reshaping the marketing landscape. AI-driven personalized marketing enables brands to deliver hyper-targeted content based on browsing history and predicted behaviors. In theory, this seems like the ultimate evolution of marketing. But here's the paradox. While AI can predict what we want, it cannot replicate the emotional and ethical nuances of human connection. It can't build trust or tell authentic stories. The more marketing becomes automated, the more consumers long for human interaction and personal connection with brands. We've seen pushback when technology feels too invasive. The Cambridge Analytica scandal, where personal data from millions of Facebook users was harvested to influence elections, sparked a global conversation about privacy and consent. People want personalized experiences, but don't want to feel manipulated or spied on. They want brands to know them, but only if that knowledge is built on trust and respect, not invasive data mining. As we move forward, the future of marketing must find a balance. Brands will need to leverage technology to deliver relevant content, but must do so with deep respect for privacy and transparency. Consumers will continue to demand personalization, but will also demand that brands act ethically and prioritize customer well-being over short-term profit. This brings us to a critical question. How should brands navigate the fine line between using technology to meet customer needs and respecting the boundaries of ethical marketing? The answer lies in trust and authenticity. Brands that use data responsibly are transparent about how they collect and use information and prioritize customer well-being will thrive. In an era where trust is hard to come by, it is those brands that stay true to their values that will not only capture attention but also build lasting loyalty. In conclusion, marketing has evolved from simple product promotion to a complex system of narratives, emotions, and ethical considerations. It taps into our deepest desires and fears, shaping not just our buying habits, but our identities and worldviews. As consumers become more aware of these influences, the demand for authenticity, simplicity, and trust will only grow. Brands that understand this and adapt accordingly will not only succeed in the marketplace, but also contribute positively to the cultural and social landscapes they inhabit. Thank you for joining us on the Deeper Thinking podcast. We hope this journey has inspired you to challenge assumptions and explore new perspectives. Until next time, keep thinking deeper.